Paul. Good morning. Lorenzo Hickey here. I'm on the West Coast, so it's early in the morning in my first conversations. So bear with me as I as I stumble and fumble through waking up. I don't do coffee, so this is me kind of ramping up. So anyway, hey, I'm really excited. As I went through the material, and Dr. Teresa, thank you so much for, kind of offering up to collaborate here, because I assume you're seeing my screen, but one of the greatest things about what we're doing here today is we want to model and share and show with you how you can also do similar kinds of things and building your list and doing other scenarios, building your business. So today's lesson and session, I've realized that we've got a 4-week window here. It probably should be 6, because I want to over deliver and under promise, but also know that this is our first time at doing this. However, all the material that I'm going to talk to and through has been material and activities that I've been involved with for really 15 to 20 years, and certainly heavily in the last 5. So really don't want to just speak at you. I'm going to share a couple things. We're going to have some fun, but this is your time, and this is the goal, is to try to help you. So Dr. Teresa, anything you want to share in terms of opening remarks? Otherwise, we're going to kind of jump right in, take an hour and figure it out.
No, I think we should just jump right in. I explained to everyone why we are doing this, as far as, helping everyone build their list from zero, right? Because that's the whole point, because most people on here, we do a lot of things on social media and emails and things of that sort, but it's not translating into building our list that we can monetize. So that's what this is about. So I'm very happy that everyone decided to jump in and help us do this.
All right. So be careful with your sound, because I'm going to do a couple things here in just a second. But one of the things that's really important to me as I have worked through my career in my lifetime is understanding that we all go through cycles. We have some ups and downs. We have some good and bad. We have relationship issues. We have family issues. We have kids issues. At the end of the day, we're all on some sort of journey. And so for me personally, one of the reasons I like to give back and work with my clients is really get to know who you are as clients or partnerships. And so whether it's a partner, client, or relationship of some sort, it's better to know the person first. And so we all know and I've heard the know, like, and trust factor. You want to work with people you know, you want to work with people you like, and you want to work with people that you trust, right? So you're all here because we know, like, and trust Dr. Teresa, right? Myself included. And so it's really important that we kind of layer into that the fact that we're all human beings and we have our own way of doing things and we're on different journeys. So for me, it's just, you're going to find as we go through these next few weeks that not only I'm going to talk about business strategy, but I'm going to talk about personal strategy and getting to know yourself. And so really, we've crafted this idea of becoming on a shape-shift journey. And that is really, we're going to go through this journey indirectly through all the materials that we're going to create. But the last line I want to show with you is the FOMO. I don't know if you've heard of this or spoke to it recently. FOMO is fear of missing out. FOMO, fear of missing out. And the thought process behind fear of missing out is we are all sort of, I would say this properly. We all sort of do follow, like we sort of follow people, we do follow a process. That's really important. But the other side of following people with a process is making sure that the process that you're doing is thoughtful and intentional. And that's really the work that Dr. Teresa and I are talking about. How are we going to be very thoughtful and intentional about what we do? At the same time, build your business, build your list, do the things that you want to do. So I want you to be thinking about fear of missing out, not necessarily for you, right? Because you're here, but more importantly for the people that you're going to speak to going forward. Right? Because I'm going to basically give you my heart and soul into each of you with the idea, with Dr. Teresa's love and support, which he already gives you, with the idea that if you are the beacon and the light of opportunity, then the people that aren't going to work with you and aren't going to collaborate with you, they're missing out, right? Because that's the really important message here, is that you're unique, you're capable, you're competent. We're going to just help give you some more tools. But the real message is your tribe and your others are interested in working with you. They're missing out. That's their problem. They're bad. Okay. So just know that FOMO concept isn't about you. It's about them. Now we're going to teach you about how to work with them. So let's have a little fun here. And I don't know if you've ever seen this video, but you got to see this, and we're going to play a couple things for you. So I think you get the drift. One person, one movement, one moment. This actually, there's a new technique in learning that I'm going through. It's called the learning code. And what actually happens to us as human beings is we have an energetic vibration in our brain, and we connect vibrationally, and we actually can't stop to emulate what's going on, right? So as funny as it sounds, we're going to use that technology and that vision inside of what we do. But there's more. Check this out.
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with the white shirt, the lady with the trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall.
We saw how this worked 50 years ago. Now let's see if group pressure still applies today at the elevators at the University of South Florida's library.
Shakes his head. One more. You can't help yourself. It is a actual natural phenomenon. You have to follow. You have to do something that other people are doing. It's beyond our understanding, except that the stuff that I'm studying and working through right now called the learning code is something I'm going to continue to bring to you into this group. And that's understanding how the brain science works and how we learn and how we assimilate, but more importantly, how others react to us, right? Creating emotional reaction and so forth. So I thought we'd open up with those things for a couple of reasons. One is you can't help but laugh, right? So in just, you know, watching each of your expressions, with the exception of that people are off camera, you kind of look at it like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And all of a sudden you're like, you can't help yourself. Like that one dude dancing, it's like, wow. So what I want us to be thinking about when I talked about the word FOMO, right, is how that you can create that energetic exchange between what you're doing and your mission and your passion, right, and how that translates to the others that you're bringing in, vibrational energy and helping each other. So one of the greatest ways to create lists and build lists and do the things that you need to do is stand in your own power and stand in confidence of who you are and how you show up. So over these 4 weeks, yeah, we're going to talk about some techniques and technologies, but what we're really going to talk about is how do you stand in your power, information that Dr. Teresa has been sharing with you, and that you can do that using having techniques is giving you confidence in addition to the fact that you have skill set and an idea and a brand that you want to bring to the market. right? So we really want to talk through those things, and we're going to do it. And like I said, really, as I've decided this should be a 6-week course, we're going to do it 4. But let me walk you through the each week agenda. And today, obviously, is primarily orientation. It's trying to get you started and working on some basic principles. But as I said before, I know about personal journey because I lived it. You know, one of my favorite lines in this life is I'm old. At this point, I had to get here to be able to say that, but I'm old means I know a lot of things. I know what not to do. And more importantly, I know how to make a difference, and I know a lot of people. And what I've learned through experience and through life is that the best way to love on people is to share and to give. And to give, and Dr. Teresa, that's one of the things that we connected on early on, is we're just trying to figure out how to give to people fast and as quickly as we can, still be creating business value, but at the same time, making a difference, you know, by giving first and being a servant leader. So I believe that's what we're doing here. I want to thank you again for being here and being part of this, because this is sort of our experiment, but it's not really an experiment. It's our way of just, you know, kind of putting things together organizationally. So week 1, we're going to talk about the pieces of, you know, what are you going to do so that you're creating a FOMO environment for others. I'm actually going to teach you bank code, and we're going to talk about that this week. And a bank code is personality profiling, because one of the things that we'll share in more detail is you have to know who your customer, who you're speaking to, right? So if I'm speaking to each one of you, I know a little bit about you. I know a little bit about that you work with Dr. Teresa, and as a result of that, you have a certain mindset and a certain appetite for learning. But that's pretty much all I know right now. But when we use bank code, and after next week, when we have you put your bank code on the screen with your name, I'll know exactly how to speak to each one of you by simply knowing your personality bank code. We're going to talk more about that. It's going to be fun. So that'll be one of your homework takeaway. We're talking about accountability and discovery. So this again is orientation, but the goal of this process is to really build something that you can rinse and repeat for yourselves, right? And so that you are in the fact learning some things and technique. Week 2, we're going to go through the bank code and what project or why they buy, which is, again, I'm a certified trainer in bank code personality profiling. I spent almost 5 years now teaching and training on this. And I'm simply going to give you some more orientation to that, because I really want you to know when you're talking to your prospects or your JV partners, which is all part of this journey, you're going to talk to somebody, and there's going to be a reason that you're going to speak with them. And there's got to be a reason that you need to understand how they're listening to you and how they're reacting to you, because you are speaking them like a foreign language. So we're going to go into that in a lot more detail. I'll start with this week, and then next week we're going to go to that in quite a bit of detail. Next week, we're also going to talk about the directory invitation. And that's something we'll share this week, which is, you know, using directory and list building and the tools that we have, Dr. Teresa has purchased and made available to herself and her community. We're going to talk about the actual invitation process. What does that look like? What's the steps you go through? So for those of you who are very oriented to process, we're going to give you literally ABC, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to have all that. That's the invitation. Also, for those who understand or are uncomfortable doing invitations, we're going to make it so simple that you learn to say, I'm just asking for information. I'm actually not asking you to do something for me. There's a difference, and there's a difference in how you feel about that, right? Because a lot of you will be high nurturing individuals, and as a high nurturing, you're like, I don't want to ask for this, right? I don't want to, you know, I want to nurture, I want to love on that person. But instead, by loving on them, you're basically informing them or sharing with them. So I'm going to teach you how to do that through what we call the directory invitation, which is really just invitation management. And then each week we're going to have accountability, right? So the goal is you can't do this alone, and you can't do this without sort of a buddy or accountability partner, right? And the reason I say that is because by ourselves, and one of my favorite taglines that I created out in the middle of the desert, it was 120 degrees with my nephew. We're sitting around a trailer in Yuma, Arizona. We're trying to build systems and build solutions. And we're sitting around going, well, what if we could do this? Or what if we could do that? And I said, you know, I love working with you. And I said, you know, the power of us together is really cool. And so we ended up creating a brand name called the marketplace called the Elevate Marketplace. So our process about the Elevate Marketplace is how to elevate each other. But the business tagline behind that is the power of we elevates me. Okay. The power of we elevates me. Why do I share that with you? Is because it's the we that we've just moved into. In terms of astrology, for those who are really kind of into the space and astrology and those things, we've moved into the Aquarian age. The Aquarian age is the age of collaboration and cooperation. you're going to see relationships, couples and other people, kids, where they're figuring out how do you elevate each other and collaborate with each other going forward, because that's the only way we need to live anymore, right? It's not how, how much, can you buy the house, can you buy the cars, can I make cute kids? It's how do we work together to make a difference? We're in that space now. And that space is actually astrologically. It's the Aquarian age, and it's the power of collaboration. So when I created, by definition, dumb luck, right? But I'm in the middle of the desert trying to work and I can't get outside. It's 120 degrees. I'm thinking, man, I love working with you. This is my nephew, Matt, right? He's like, 20 years younger than me. I go, I love this. And so the power of we elevates me came out of that. That's what I want you to bring to what we're doing with building your list, right? So it isn't just you standing alone. So having an accountability buddy or person or partner, however, what words work for you, right? My words are going to be my words. So please don't take offense. It's just how I speak and how I learned in my experience and my people, my family, right? But at the end of the day, it's what resonates with you, but it's the collaboration that's important to me. And so we're going to talk about that in accountability. So how do we do that? We're going to talk about what that looks like, what formula you want. And then next two, we're going to talk about discovery, which is our homework assignment. I call it discovery because homework isn't applied to me anymore, right? Or it's not homework, right? First of all, it's not work anymore. If you don't love what you do, you better stop and ask Dr. Teresa if you're doing the right thing, because she's going to tell you you're not in the right space, right? Because she gives you straight, honest feedback. Right. That's what you got. That's what you love about Dr. Teresa. This is I do, right? Like I screw up. God damn it, I screw up. She goes, okay, but we'll get it right. So she doesn't come down on you. She loves on you, but it's at the same time, it's that straight up conversation that you're looking for. So we're going to talk about, to me, homework is not homework. It's, it's how do I create discovery? How do I discover more so I can be better human being and better for my clients and my partners? And then we're going to talk about an intramonial. So I'm going to do something really fun with you. I'm going to take some of my favorite people that I've worked with, and we're going to talk about that quote unquote elevator pitch, because at the end of the day, the number one thing that you're going to take away as far as homework goes or discovery goes is how do I speak to somebody? What do I say? What's the right words to say? I've got dozens of people in my life that talk about things like head whipping hooks and all, it's like, there's all kinds of ways to hook you into a conversation. But at the end of the day, I believe it's how do I share what I do simply, quickly, effectively, identify the pain points. And so I'm going to walk you through all kinds of great things, but I actually call it intramonial and a testimonial, introduction and a testimonial. And I created my own words, which you'll find a lot about me. I just make stuff up because I like to. And so an intramonial is both an audio, a video, and a testimony to yourself. Right. So it's intramonial, introducing yourself. And we're actually see that we have technology that if you want to, not only for you, but eventually you can do intramonials for your people, and they can actually basically vet and honor you by talking about you through sort of testimonials. So we're going to talk about that. The most important message there is we're going to go through what are you learning, how do you learn what to say and how to say it. And if you're an expert at it, then great, you can model it for everybody else, right? So there, again, we're on different parts of our journey. There's no right or wrong here. That's just, we have to work together in collaboration. So that's what's weeks 2. So that's pretty heavy packed, right? So you'll have that, the work to do. You'll see all of this, and all of your actually homework / discovery is going to be as resources inside of Teresa's app. All right. So we're going to talk about that later. That's how do we get what we get, right? So that information. And then week 3, I really love talking about celebration. So what came out of week 2, there'll be some of that accountability and discovery. What you'll see is I want to hear 1 or 2 stories, like what worked, right? What didn't work, right? We're going to talk about that. And I want to do a little bit of role playing in week 3, because when we talk about the directory invitation, I want us to get really comfortable with the idea, not necessarily doing it, right? Because this is a short window of time. And while I know it's 4 weeks and I know that we all have a lot of things that we're doing, I want you to feel confident that we're not expecting you to do anything big, crazy, and grandiose until after the 4 weeks. Okay. So this is a 4-week window where I'm expecting you to learn, listen, figure out, talk, discover, so that when we're done with this, right? I mean, we want you to take action if you can, because some of you will take action in week 1. But what we want you to do is have this whole block of material and information so that you can build out your process based on the bigger picture, right? All of the information together. Independently, they're kind of cool, but it's the collective of information that is important to me and is important to make this work. So in week 3, we're going to do role play, but we're also going to do yet another one of my favorite modalities. And I have dozens of them, including hand analysis, palmistry, and other reading. But we're going to offer up for those of you who are interested, talk about human design inside of my world. If I know your human design, which you may or may not have ever heard of. We'll talk about it's tied to astrology. It's about your birthday and time. We're going to just get an overview of it. Nothing is going to be deep here. Overview human design and your bank code. I know almost everything I need to know about you by those 2 modalities, right? And I use about 7 or 8 different modalities, but they all end up telling me the same thing. But then this is all about knowing your customer and knowing your partners, right? Because again, you're only as good as you can on your standalone on your 2 feet, but really it's the power of we elevates me. So when you're partnering, that's what's really important. So hopefully this is resonating and makes sense, because we don't do anything on our own anymore, right? It just doesn't happen, right? So then that's what's coming in week 3, which is human design. I'm also trained on human design, and I studied under the world's leading expert. And so this is part of my journey to really improve myself every day. And then week 4, we're going to continue celebrations and accountability, but we're going to talk about accountability lessons. Right? Because the goal is to create the habits. So who knows how often it takes to create, how many days it takes to create a habit? Anybody? Just a guess, 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30?
30.
Yeah. It's about 21 to 27 days to create a habit, right? So inside of 4 weeks, we're going to be pretty much in the point where we're going to try to create that habit. And that habit that I want to create with everybody here is creating an accountability process and feeling good about that and continuing that on, right? Because accountability, really, if I twist the word and I reformulate it, it's JV partner now. It's not accountability anymore, it's partnerships, right? Because that's how we're starting. So I'm going to teach you everything I've ever learned about creating partnerships and relationships based on a lot of different pieces, but I'm going to teach it in reverse. I'm going to teach you all this other stuff about who the people is that you're talking to. And then I'm going to turn around and say, well, why would you work with them, or why would you wouldn't work with them? And the most important lesson that each one of you already know this, but I'm going to put it in your head and remind you, setting boundaries. And in today's world, working with people that you know, like, and trust, because if you don't, you're going to spend energy you shouldn't be spending. It's just that simple, right? So you're chasing that, you're pushing that boulder up the hill, or chasing the wrong customer, the wrong prospect. You don't stop, right? there's a great Bob Hartman. Maybe I'll bring it for next week. You know, the stop it, right? I'll play that one next week. Just stop it, right? And so we really just wanted to stop it. So week 4, we're going to talk about that. We're going to goal setting, the collaboration, and then start building your collaboration list, right? So that's actually the time that's go time. Right. So we get to week 4. So it's important that you see all the different pieces of the puzzle. And I'm spending a little time on the agenda because I want you to see that there is method to the madness, and that there's really a lot of insight to this journey. It's not just about using technology to build your list. That's cool. And that's important, and that's real. And I'm going to talk to that, but it's not all about that. So I know I'm sort of talking at you, and I apologize. Anybody, just raise your hand if you have something you really want to be heard and be seen, because I believe in that as well. But I'm trying to get all this information in a decent amount of time. All right, respect everyone's time. So this is just a little bit of a summary again. So just to remind you, everything we're showing you here, we want you to basically document and repeat, right? We're saying, hey, this is yours. This is our gift to you. Teresa and I are working through this. We're doing intentional collaboration. That is, we're saying we're going to work with other people. That is the a stake in the ground sort of assumption that we need to know. KYC, actually, I worked in banking for 20 years. And in banking, KYC was an initiative in many banks. Like, so I was in Mitsubishi Bank, top 5 bank in the world, and I was a director of transformation technology and a Lean Six Sigma black belt project manager, right? So I like to push people around. Sometimes executives, sometimes not. But the No KYC initiative is really important, because knowing your customer, knowing your prospect, who knows that the 2 most cost expensive things in a business, the 2 most costly parts of your business. How many think it's employees? How many think it's customers or acquiring customers, right? So those 2 things, bringing people on board and having them help you or partner with you, and employees and customer loss and customer retention, those are the 2 most costly, energetically, financial costs in your business. So if you're not in the employee business, that's fine, but you're in the partner business, right? Or you're in the customer business. So acquiring customers. So if I could show you how you could take 10 customers, which I will show you next week, I can take 10 customers, the same 10 customers, I can increase your sales up to 300%. Would that be of interest to you? You took a lot of time to get those 10, right? And so that's what I'm trying to share with you. It's like, I can show you how to do those things. That's part of the teaching. So know your customer is really important. The modalities, just to share with you, I'll continue to share more. The intramonials, I'm going to show you a couple of really, again, great use cases. And then we're constantly going to give you resources. Those resources are going to be available. So that's what we're looking to do in terms of the delivery system. So, so really what I want to kind of set the stage for is what's new and different today, right? What's new and different is number one, your prospects are now researching you, right? So before you thought about this, or how am I gonna, before the internet, before YouTube, Google, and now, by the way, the number 2 search engine product and tool today, you might be surprised, Facebook. So people are going to Facebook now to find people around them or a particular niche. Because I don't know if you've seen this, but in Facebook now, and I think if the number is, it's like 760 million people a day search on Facebook for businesses. Okay. So when we get into the social media conversation, which is a whole nother day, a whole nother workshop, realize that the most important part about that is not so much that you have the checkbox, is that if you're not there, people are not going to find you. Right. So when people are searching, so you have to be in social media now. Now it's because now it's not a check the box, it's because if you're not, they're searching there for you. Right. So these are all the kinds of things you just may not be aware of. And that's the stuff that in a place I live in every day. So it's really important to understand those things. So people are finding you, right? People are trusting people over brands. So what we've kind of talked through that and around that. So I'm not going to read this thing to you, but the other thing that's important is know, like, and trust, as I've said before, but social proof. Testimonials, intramonials, all of that, social proof, what we call in SEO terms on your website, authority, all of that is what people are buying now, right? So people, one of the reasons that, my conversation with William, Coach William Moore, and talking to him, and I talked about him and his clients and things that he does, right? What he does, he creates an immediate trust factor because he's working with somebody trying to say, I'm trying to help you. Right. So I'm really trying to inform you on something. And as a result of that, I'm going to prove to you that I'm here to help. And because I'm here to help, you can't, like, the whole defense mechanism just falls apart. Like, well, I don't want to like this guy, but he's trying to help me. So how do I not like him? Right. So that's the kind of key thing. And so the other thing is people are expecting instant replies. And that's one of the reasons we have to use tech, right? Because people are trying to find you right away. If they don't find you, what are they going to do? Right? How many times you go to the grocery store and can't find something, or go to a mall and go to a restaurant and the restaurant's not there, not open, or it's crowded, you go somewhere else, right? We're people of choice and free will. We just keep changing our way we're going. So it's really important that you make yourself available. And that's what we're talking about. That's my area of specialty, is digital availability. Okay. Which means you kind of have to be everywhere. The other thing is that you really need to have a business strategy. Right. So one of the things that I know that Teresa talks to you about, Dr. Teresa shares with you, is, get a plan, stick to a plan, make it happen. Right. Well, part of that plan is having, so I'm going to contradict myself, but one of the things that I love, people say, find your niche will make you rich. Okay. What I will tell you is, if you're a big thinker, you got to find a niche, because you can't get started, because money is feedback. And the way that you get started is you get some money in, you get some things working, and then you get feedback, and then you get going. And we're going to talk about that as we do our list building. But the reality is, you don't want to target everyone. But so as a result of that, you have to have a plan scenario, right? Bill Gates started in a garage, right? The operating system for Windows. The guy who started Amazon, I can't remember his name right now, started also selling one product, right? You got to start with something. And so the niche idea, or the targeting a particular offering, is simply to make sure you're getting that feedback, that money that makes this happen. So we're going to focus on that. For those of you who don't know me much, I should have introduced myself a bit more, but I'm a recovering accountant. I started out with a degree in accounting and master's of business. The reason I'm an accountant is because I wanted to travel the world and work anywhere I wanted to. right? Well, they need business accounting everywhere, I think. So I said, hey, that's a strategy. I had that strategy, hated it, by the way. I got involved in like, no, I can't stand this stuff. But it forced me to do other things, right? So really important that you understand that. So the other thing is videos. So when we talk about our strategies, we're going to talk a lot about video and video usage. The last, I think, of the key topics I want to make sure we're speaking to, and you're keeping top of mind, is relationship marketing. I talked about the cost of employees and the cost of acquiring customers, but additionally, the cost of relationship is your time and your energy, right? So the most important part about your time and your energy is how are you using it, or using it wisely, right? And so we talk about systems. And so I have taken my entire lifetime trying to find the best possible solutions and systems to help you create quickly, lessons learned, things that I've learned, right? And then the last thing that I want to share with you, and we are really focused here on this because we talk about list building, and I haven't really dug into it, but I'm going to in a minute. List building is really more like list curation now, right? So I have 100,000 people on my list, and if you hear people say, I still got this big list, you're going to go, that's almost, how do I say this politely? Not laughable, but it's like, really? You're going to tell me how big your list is? How many people are actually talking to you and working with you and collaborating with you, right? We already know there's an 80-20 rule. So 80% of the revenue is coming from 20% of your business, right? That's an industry, that's a lifetime rule of natural law, right? It just happens the way it happens. So list curation. And so when we start talking about, you're going to say, well, what does that mean? I'm going to tell you what it means. It means get the people you don't want out, let the people opt in themselves, right? And then work your list. Because it's your list is where your biggest value is. And that's relationship marketing, right? So I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of, there's a lot of companies out there. We happen to be good friends with a lady who does send out cards, right? Getting a personalized business card or a card as a thank you is life-changing for a lot of people. And it's the long tail sales opportunity. So just as an example, I'm not selling anything here, folks. I'm just trying to say there's different ways to connect with people. And you can't assume that because you talk to somebody today that they're going to close. I have a real life example of somebody I helped and I nurtured for 2 years. And I nurtured him in my app. Dr. Tricia will like this. I put him in my app, and he's a musician. And I just said, hey, whatever I can do to help you, I just want to get you out there and make a difference. 2 years later, he introduced me, he gets a job at this guy, a client, gets a job at a client that's a $10 million a year client. They want to go to 20 million. They spend $750,000 a year in marketing and advertising. And I said, hey, you want to buy an app? And they're going like, yeah, I want an app. Of course I do, right? So I basically ended up, it's about a $20,000 opportunity because I helped somebody be in an app to talk about who they are and sell his music. He does voice and voice teaching, voice teacher, right? So the long tail is the word I use, which is just a long tail. It's a little relationship marketing. There is great value in creating relationship marketing, right? So I want you to look at all the pieces that we're going to speak to as we go, and that's part of the list curation. Okay. So build my list. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to talk about a solution. Again, I'm not selling. We're going to show you the different pieces that we have, and we're going to walk through those, talking about that here in just a second. But one of the things that's really important that you look at, video is a part of who you are. How many love video? Raise your hand, or your electronic hand, love doing video. Like, I love being on video. Like, yeah, okay. That's what I thought, right? Oh, there's one. Carrie does. That's cool. Yeah, but not so much. Right. But we've got to get comfortable with that. Right. I will tell you, this is a true story. So I was in a speaking group, 5 years ago, and I couldn't stand getting on stage. Like, I love talking, right? But getting on stage, it's one of the top 3 fears of a lifetime. Right. We all have it. Right. So the real key here is, how do you get past that comfort zone? Well, not today, but as we go through, we're going to start making you do, videos and intramonials and stuff, because I want you to get comfortable in your own skin. Because getting comfortable in your own skin is also creating that partnership. Okay. I mean, you'll see, I keep coming back to, it's all about you, right? Until I loved myself, I wasn't a good salesperson, and I was never a good salesperson. But until I loved myself, I wasn't as good a human being as I could be. Now I love myself, and now I'm like, how can I give more? Like, I'm good with me. Like, how can I help everybody else, right? There's a weird sort of transformation, and it's not, this isn't about me, but I'm trying to share what I can, how I can, to make a difference in your world. Okay, so one of the things that you haven't done, one of your homework assignments. So I'm going to start dropping the bombs here because we're getting close to the last part of the show for this week. So you need to be texting the word Teresa to 64600. So that's on your mobile phone. You're going to text the actual words Teresa. So the phone number is 64600, and you're going to text that to Teresa. Now, if you've already done that, great. But this is one of the things that we're going to talk about, ways to build your list. And there's tons of ways to do it. We're only going to talk about things that we're interested in right now. So I'm going to show this slide again, and I'll put it in the homework assignment. But you're going to text it, because one of the ways that we build our list is using mobile text onboarding. So, but there are other ways you can build lists in all the traditional ways. So imagine me 4 years ago when I'm watching Madam Secretary, and I saw this text Elizabeth to a phone number, short key code number. I'm like, hey, it's on TV, right? Because early adoption is not easy, right? It's pushing that boulder up a hill because you're on your own. Leadership is lonely. But I am a leader in technology and always have been, right? Why? Because just who I am. But what's important about this is that we're now getting into mainstream. Text onboarding, text solutioning, all that's getting mainstream. So now we're that early curve, that bell curve and early adoption, we're now in that space where you need to think about texting. And so that was the whole reason I shared that with you. Text onboarding is a big part of this journey, but it's more than that, because now we have other ways to do things like texting. So we'll talk about that. So what we're actually doing, and this is something that I've created based on my years of experience, and something that's really important, is we're going to create what I call a digital funnel, a digi funnel, right? I'm lazy, so I use shorten words, right? So digital funnel. So digi funnel. But what's that really mean to you? That means that we're going to basically create using digital cards as our core platform, right? And we'll talk about that. Look, I'm going to be very clear. Everything we're talking about today, you don't have to pay a dime for, but you do have to partner. So your choice, right? So I'm not asking you to pay money. But what I'm saying is, if you do decide to do something on your own, we're going to give you options. But what I'm going to do is you have to partner. Guess who you get to partner with? In my case, she's in the upper right-hand corner of my screen, Dr. Teresa, right? She has already created infrastructure for you. The reason that that's important is that you can test the waters and test this process, because what I'm going to teach you, we're going to teach you through this course, is get you into that space, and then you can say, oh, this is great. But I'm actually going to show you how you can make money and pay for your card right away, right? That's the whole point for me, is creating value. So my 3 words that you're not going to hear other than right now is I focused on 2021 on the idea of creating value, impact, and leverage. Value, impact, and leverage. So if I can't do something that doesn't create great value, irresistible offer, irresistible value, like, geez, I got to do this, right? It just makes sense. 2 is impact, is it's going to help you right away, right? One of the things I used to say when I hired, and I've hired thousands of people, right? I've been a boss of a few. And I also say we work together, right? So when I finally got to the point where I was, decent enough human being to figure who I was, I say, we work together. You don't work for me, you work with me. Right? That's kind of my personality. So if we're going to work together, we better figure out how to do this. So I've been collaborating since the day I started hiring people, but I also put them in a framework for success. But the whole idea about this process is we're going to get you in a chance to help make yourself grow your business in a way that feels good, without a lot of extra anxiety. Because in the learning code, you'll find out that anxiety and stress dumbs you down by 20%. Little tidbit here, but how many times do you get high stress? You're like, I can't remember, because you're in stress mode, right? And in my family counseling techniques, we call that fight or flight, right? You're in that process, right? I'll take a deep breath. You take a deep breath. What we're here to do is create the space of technology and learning that doesn't stress you out. Because if we do that, the conversations that we're going to have about directory invitations won't be stressful anymore. And if you're not stressed, and I'm not saying that you are, and I don't get me wrong, I'm not but throwing stones at all, because I know that I get this way. But what I'm saying is that just changes the dynamic and the energy of the conversation. And that's also part of why I'm teaching you what I'm going to teach you, right? More of that same. So the ultimate goal here is to get people to self-qualify, right? You don't want to do the work. You want them to do the work. So if you have your clear message, right? I know Dr. Teresa, because I've heard her say this, you have a clear message, you have a clear vision, you have a clear strategy, you have clear opportunities, then your work will speak for itself. The goal is then to let the person at the other end of that information share, if you're speaking to them with the proper language and the proper personality, that what you're doing now is you're letting them self-qualify, right? So you kind of want people to self-qualify out, right? Because if you think about it, I know it's hard and it's really hard. And I will try not to always talk about me, but one of the greatest lessons I ever learned was overcoming fear of what's going to happen if I left my wife, who was making almost $1 million a year. I was miserable. I was taking care of my mother-in-law, which was the greatest gift of all. She had Alzheimer's. But if I left all of that, and I was very capable, I'd start all these companies, but what was I going to do? How would I survive? How would I leave even my bank job as a, executive vice president at a big bank? Like, what I realized is that when I finally got over the fear, that the abundance and the scarcity mentality opened up all the doors. So might be in that space. And I'm going to say, I'm going to honor you, because if you're in that space, we're going to try to figure out a way to love you through it. That's what this journey and this course is all about. We're going to find ways to get to that other end, so you get more confidence and you get more understanding of who you are, so that you can realize that fear that you're facing really dissipates. It's not there anymore, right? And so that's a lot more than tech. It's a lot more about trying to make a difference. And that's Dr. Teresa. That's in William, and I've met him a little bit enough to know that's who they are. That's why I appreciate them as human beings, which is why I'm sitting here on 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning, because I like them. Make sense? And I like you, of course, but I like who they are. Cool. All right. All right, Carrie, you're making me, check this out. All right. So top 5 ways to build lists for now, right? That we got tons of ways to do it. I've talked more and more about them. So I'm going to show these to you. In fact, I will do this right now because I'm capable, and I show all this cool tech here. So I have my phone. So I'm using my mouse, not working. So I got my phone. My phone's right here. So I'm sharing this. So the digital card list option is number 1. So when somebody texts, the thing that we talked about, share or save the card, when somebody texts or emails or use a QR code and sends that, this actually is one of the options. Number 1, I should probably have these numbered. That's the digital card list options. When somebody texts that in, they actually automatically get added to a list. It was called the command center or the back office. So automatically you already have a person in your list. Great. That's one thing. But remembering people are going to do things that they want to do the way they want to do it. So whether they enter the list this way, or they come onto a desktop and they look at it this way, let me just bring it up here, or they look at it on a desktop, they're still getting access to this, and they can still add themselves to the list. Well, on this version, I'm not texting in, right? But I can go to the member directory and I can add myself to the directory. So whether I do that there or whether I do it in the card. So what we want people to do is, when we're option number 2, is add themselves to the directory here, which is the directory listing inside the digital card. So we're going to go through all of these in detail, but I want you to just see the pieces, right? So 1 is that they text on board to get the card. That's great. 2 is that they don't go the card, but they come in here, and this is the directory listing when I talked about a directory invitation, right? And we're going to talk about how that works in your favor to build your business and generate partnerships. So that's option number 2. Option number 3 is something that we're going to show, which is ability to have a tool set, which is list building inside of your digital card. Let me see where my phone went. I'll share it to you a little bit later, but inside of these tabs, right? So you can have a connect tab or about Teresa, and you can have learn more, interest in partnership. You can have links, you can have your calendar, you can have all kinds of different ways that connect with people. So all of those options are going to be inside of your card. So SendFox or call to action, and with a newsletter or onboarding, that's another way inside of the digital card that people can actually find you onboard into your list, onboard to a discovery call, onboard to in a quick chat, whatever makes sense, and so on. Then the other piece that's to download the mobile app, so which we're going to ask all of you to do. And inside of the mobile app, for those of you who haven't seen it, the Legacy app, this is what it looks like on the phone. And inside of the Legacy app, when people download the app from the mobile app and register, and they click on the little hamburger button, or they enter a code, and Teresa, I don't even know this yet because I created a code for you today. When in the code, I log in and I create credentials, I now have a username and a password. So it's another way inside of the mobile app to actually create a registration and list and create value. And then lastly is to create a list is to collaborative JV partnerships, which is your ability to work with others and go into resources and look at legacy resources and look at other tool sets. And I'll just show you Amy, because some of you know that I work with social media marketing tool. And this is yet another way inside of this list to create other connections inside of the app, right? So what we're going to show you is for your community, right? So again, this is not all the possibilities. This is inside of your community, inside of working with Dr. Teresa, that these 5 are going to be the fastest ways for you to build your list basically for free or in partnership, and then decide, how do you want to grow and move forward. So just really important that we understand those pieces, parts. Again, we're going to go through all these details. Remember, today is orientation day, right? We just come into class, we're just figuring it out, we're just going to get going. We're going to send you away with that homework official / activity. So here's what's discovery for next week. So number 1, let's see, we've got 2, 4, 6, 7. So if you have somebody on here that you already know, like, and trust, I'm going to ask you to switch, find somebody else. And Teresa, we can make ourselves available. Does everybody know how to get hold of each other? Or should we have everybody put their name and or email into chat? Yeah, you got to come off mute, Teresa, if you want to.
Sorry, I got all these things. Yeah, so if you don't know how to get in contact with one another, just drop your name and stuff and email and chat. I'll also put it inside of the Slack so that you guys can do what you have to do.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, if you could do that, then we'll add it to our resources. So we'll have, as part of the page, we'll have your name and number. So the other thing is that you're going to see inside of the code, and I actually haven't done this yet. So set this up this morning. So inside of the app, there's the ability to track. So we have a number just for this group. Okay, so just for this course, just for this class, and it's 800,009. So if I put in 800,009, let's test the waters here. This is always like real-time testing. And I've unlocked content. That's cool. So now I can unlock content. And so now I'm going to see, not built yet, but will be built, is under the resources topics area. Actually, I'm going to put it under resources, legacy resources. You'll have a menu option here that will say, basically the way I've described it is build my list, which is, just my words. Again, it's a little bit whatever, it's collaborative list building. It's all those different things, but the shortest version of that was build my list. And so you have under resources, a build my list, where we'll put all of this stuff, right? All the information, all this links. So only you, by entering this code 800,009, will get access to it. So far, is that okay? Is that everyone make sense out of that? Okay. So what we just modeled is that you're in the bank code piece. This is, I'll put this in chat right now as well. Let's see, let me copy this link. Not, oh, I'm in the wrong place. Let me just do it differently. So what I want you to do is crack your code. And I'm going to put this in chat. It's also going to be in your resources. It's easier to do on your computer for those of you. So here's a bit.ly link, code me. And it has to be the uppercase word letters code, CODEME. And it's a couple clicks in, so I apologize. I'll rebuild it. But the idea is you look at, you'll see a picture says crack my code. When you crack your code, you go to a website, says crack my code. I apologize. You'll do that one more time. And then eventually you'll get in there. You'll see this concept where you actually get digital, or you'll get cards that, oh my gosh, I usually have them handy here, that are bank cards. Actually, let me just do it this way. I can show you, I can do this. So you're going to see it looks like this on your computer. And then you're going to go to Code Me Now, and under Code Me Now, and you don't have to do this. These are all voluntary things. I mean, it's to crack my code. These are all voluntary things, but the teaching that I'm going to do in week 2 is going to be super cool, because we're going to walk through knowing your customer based on knowing their bank code. And the only way to know your customer is to know who you are. And based on knowing you are, you get a really cool report. So no one's going to spam you. This goes to my list. So this is just yet another example of we're trying to figure out how to support you. But when you fill out this information, drag these cards. So you can drag these cards. Anybody want to guess my code? You know, you can drag these around and put them in here. And based on that code, we're going to talk next week, and we're going to do a why they buy presentation. We're going to show you how you speak to different people based on their values. Okay. So this is just one of the many ways that we're going to try to make things happen for you. Okay. So in closing, they come back to our list. So I'd ask you to find an accountability partner. Teresa, I don't know if you have other group meetings this week. Remind me, do you have any other activities where any of these people will be together with you?
The only meeting we have coming up is on the 27th, which is our Real Talk session.
Okay. Okay. So let me do this. By next week, remember I told you we're going to, no pressure. By next week, if you don't have an accountability partner, we're going to find one for you in the middle of the meeting. Okay. And I'm hoping I'm going to see you next week, right? So I didn't scare you all away. So crack your code. Text Teresa or go to the link on your computer. Go to the Legacy app. Now, inside of the app itself, just as a reminder, so I guess I should have showed you this part. Inside of the app itself, the digital card, sorry, inside the digital card, there's the ability to download the app. So whether you're Android, so get our Legacy app now. If there's your Android or Apple, you can just go right here, click on the link. I'm an Apple guy, so you can click on the link and it goes right to the Apple store or not. And you can install it. Let me do that again. Did I see something? Did I hit the wrong button? I said Apple. Oh, I said Apple, but I touched Google. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Stress. Oh my God,
was that a Freudian slip? I think it was, because all the Android people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because
Android.
I know you're Androids, all your Android people. So anyway, that being said, you click on the Apple Store, it takes you to the Apple Store, right? Okay, so if you download the app, the easiest way to get the digital card to get the app is just go right here. So see how the top 5 things we talked about are all generally available. Most importantly, they're all available inside of Dr. Teresa's ecosystem for you. Right? For you, right? So you can use it, you can leverage it. We'll talk about that. All of those details coming next week. Enter in track your code. So here's the thing about accountability. I will know, Dr. Teresa will know if you've done your homework / discovery. Because if you don't, we'll say, hey, you know what? We're missing. Now we're not going to call you out, but just know that the part of this journey is accountability to the solution in the systems, right? Because you imagine this, and I'm going to close on this point. Imagine this, you spend time talking, spending money, do advertisement, do whatever it is you do, and you send them to a digital card, or you send them to your webpage, you send them to your funnel, and those people do or don't respond, then you're going to know, right? They qualified themselves in or you qualified themselves out. That's okay. 2 is that they qualified themselves in. The money, if you're chasing money or opportunity, even or chasing help, if you're a good high nurturing person, you're chasing help, the help and the money is in the follow-up, right? So having a tool set that gives you information and people, it's giving you the opportunity to then follow up. It gives you the best of all worlds, right? It serves you that way. So I just want you to understand that we're not trying to do anything in our systems and our solutions to track you and embarrass you. We're trying to do this to show you that all of these solutions will be there for you, and they are generally for free because the platforms are built and made available through Dr. Teresa. Now, I'm going to close. I promise I'll close with this last statement, and then Teresa can give any closing remarks. When we talk about this, and we talk about the ability to do this for free, the reality is that is the case. So what's really important is that as we're doing this and as you're building this process, What are you doing? You're helping yourself, you're helping others, but you're also helping Dr. Teresa build her list and build her relationships because we're using her platforms. So transparency is huge for me, right? So I've had my life where, you know, good and bad and the ugly of times where you don't proactively share things. And I'll say this out loud, truly. I had an ex-wife that used to call me on that saying, well, you know, omission is a lie. Like, okay, well, that's a little bit rough, but not saying it is being just as disrespectful. So transparency in a proactive way to me is how I like to think I've changed. Right. So I'm saying that in working that we're doing here, we're actually modeling that you're helping Dr. Teresa in collaboration with us to build her list. Right. And that's just straight up. Right. But the difference is you now can do this for yourself. You can also do this in partnership. And this is the last thing I was going to say, in partnership with her, because if you say, hey, I want to build my list. Can I do it inside of your app and your tools? And she'll say, yeah, what are you going to do to make that happen? How do we collaborate? What does that look like? You now immediately have a partner with a platform. You actually don't have to spend any money, right? And I don't mean it in a negative way, in a positive way. And at the same time, then you can say, I'm going to start earning money when I need to. That is the beauty of what we're trying to do. I'll close on that note. Teresa, anything you want to close with? Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, no, that you said it all. And in the, you know, I'm trying to be the model. You guys know that, you know, I don't like to be the best. I like to be the standard, right? So modeling is very important. Whatever I do, you do, right? Whatever I do, you do. So I'm building my list in my app. I want to create an outreach program. Right. So I'm looking for the right partners that can help my community. And I'm using this opportunity to find others that can help others. That's the whole point of that. And then I'm looking to create value for my community. So that's my why. So everything that I'm doing is to serve those three things. So I'm hoping that you guys understand that I want you to model this. So whether or not you have an app, whether or not you have the card, you can still partner and be a part of this, but you have to have something of value. So that FOMO that Lorenzo spoke about, what is the fear of missing out that your clients, your prospects are going to feel? That's what I want you to bring inside of my community. So that's why we're doing this. So that's what I wanted to say. And I want to thank you guys for helping us share this and be a part of this, because with this, we're creating a course for Lorenzo around what he's doing and how he's serving us. So that is what we're doing this for. You're helping us build directories using digital cards, starting from nothing. And the ability for him to be able to create a course that he can then sell and monetize, which you actually get gratis by just partnering. So that's our why. So
yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that heads up and reminder. And the course will be free for anybody who gets a digital business card. So as I continue to extend it, we're actually building this out. The goal is to make it of value so not just getting a card, but creating life. So thank you. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Same bat channel next week. I'm going to be on vacation on Saturday. So I'll talk to you and bolt out to Sedona. So
Thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.